All right, what's going on, everybody? Good morning. It is fight day. It is fight day, and for hardcore boxing fans like ourselves, this is like Christmas morning to a lot of us. And I got to be honest, and I'm sure you guys can tell, I haven't been this excited in a long time for a fight. Um, it's kind of funny when you think about it because to us, this is a huge fight. It's a very intriguing fight. A lot of us are very excited about it. We're looking at this as a fight that has the potential, and we all suspect strongly that this is going to be a great fight. We all have good feelings about this fight. We're all pretty much excited about this fight, but it's not really a mainstream fight. It's definitely not a mainstream fight. I do have some casual fans talking to me about the fight. I had a friend just text me saying that he put a little bit of money on Teofimo Lopez this morning. But it's going to be interesting to see if this fight could turn out to be a crossover fight in terms of the ratings on ESPN, and just hearing the feedback from boxing fans, not only hardcore but casual as well. It's going to be interesting to see if this fight could swing some casual fans over to the sport of boxing, at least for tonight. And like I said before, on D Styles podcast with the Leaving in the Ring reunion podcast there with 6 panelists, there's a lot of college football on ESPN today up until the time where the fight starts. So I'm curious, and not only curious, but I somewhat suspect that a lot of those people are going to carry over to watch the boxing. So this is a great day in terms of potential for the sport of boxing to get and garner more eyes and attention on the sport that normally we wouldn't get. So we had the weigh-in yesterday, and usually you hear people say, I want to wait till the weigh-in before I make my decision. I want to see how both fighters look. I want to see the reaction. I want to see, a lot of us tend to become sports psychologists looking at how the fighters stared at each other down, how they sound in the post weigh-in interviews and things of that nature. And a lot of us, and myself included, have been guilty over the years of acting like sports psychologists and looking for little things that we could maybe look at it as an advantage for a particular fighter or a disadvantage for a particular fighter. So both guys did look ready. I agree, Centurion Son. Both guys did look dialed in. They looked focused. It was mentioned that in terms of size, both guys look similar. That Teofimo Lopez has been talked about as the bigger man, and I'm sure he will be significantly the bigger man on fight night. I suspect him to be anywhere from 12 to 15 pounds heavier than Lomachenko tonight in the ring. But at the weigh-in, both, you can say, and I know Eric said this yesterday, and a lot of people said this. I think Tim Bradley said this as well. Both guys didn't look that much different in terms of size. Obviously, Teofimo Lopez was a little taller, but in terms of stature, he didn't look that much bigger, according to some. But I could definitely tell there was a difference in bone structure and frame. Teofimo Lopez looked like a guy that just leaned out, but not like he was really dry and cut. And, you could tell that that's not how he looks. But Lomachenko kind of had more of a natural look to him, meaning that's kind of looked pretty close to his walk around weight. In other words, he didn't look as dry. He didn't look as cut or whatever. But I'm expecting Teofimo Lopez to be much thicker and a lot more filled out tonight. And I don't think Lomachenko will be that much bigger. And I think that could play into the fight because obviously this could be at some points it could be a physical fight if Teofimo Lopez does decide to try to get inside and put some muscle and try to grapple a little bit on the inside and make the fight a little bit ugly on the inside for Lomachenko, like other fighters have at certain points. So I think that may be a strategy. So size, I think, at some point in this fight will play into the fight. So let's take a look at the odds here, because the odds really haven't moved. Teofimo Lopez is a plus 300. Vasyl Lomachenko is still a minus 400. So technically, Vasyl Lomachenko is like a 3.5 to 1 favorite here. He's close to 3.5, close to 4 to 1 favorite here. So that's a substantial. That's him. He's a substantial favorite. That's substantial. The over/under is 10.5 rounds. The over is a minus 195. The under is a plus 165. So let's take a look at the props here for this bet. If you were to bet Lopez by KO, TKO, or DQ, he would be a plus 500. Whereas if you were to take Lomachenko by KO, TKO, or DQ, he would only be a plus 210. So the odds are better for Lomachenko by knockout than they are for Lopez. The odds on a draw are a plus 2,000. Lopez by decision is a plus 900, and Lomachenko by decision is a minus 110. So he's almost even money to win by decision. So the general consensus here by most is Lomachenko by decision. So the odds have not really changed that much after the weigh-in. But let's take a look at some takeaways here. Now, Lopez stepped up onto the platform, and Lomachenko stepped up onto the platform first. They were both going to do the face-off. And as we all saw, good morning, G Funky. As we all saw, we saw Lopez motion with his hand, come to me. And that's when Lomachenko went underneath the ropes, and they went face to face. And then I watched a replay of a behind the scenes weigh-in footage. And what Lopez was saying on the platform, it wasn't like he said anything to Lomachenko, but what he said on the platform, if you noticed, one of the security guys had an arm around Lomachenko almost to pull him back. And Teofimo Lopez put his hand on that guy's arm and said, "Don't hold him back. Let him go. Let him go." So Teofimo Lopez, to me, seems like he's trying to get in Lomachenko's head. He's trying to goad Lomachenko into probably trying to maybe fight this fight out of character, be more overly aggressive, fight, stay longer in the pocket, even though, as I said, he's been staying longer in the pocket at lightweight. He's not moving as much at lightweight. He's getting hit more at lightweight. But now it looks to me like Teofimo Lopez is trying to goad him into actually staying in there longer and fighting him. And you got a guy in Lomachenko who's saying, the day before yesterday, he said this is going to be a chess match. But then yesterday, he says, well, I don't want this fight to end early. I want this to go 12 rounds, and I want to punish him for 12 rounds. So we're seeing Lomachenko act out of character. Teofimo Lopez is acting the way he always acts. He's a showman, says a lot of brash things to his opponents. He's a guy who doesn't really play around. But I have to be honest with you guys. I just think Teofimo Lopez looks more relaxed, whereas Lomachenko looks a little bit more tense. He looks irritated. He looks upset. And he's approaching this fight like I've never seen him approach a fight before. He seems to me to be more out of character than Lopez. Now, again, here we go again, me being the sports psychologist, but I'm just going to look at circumstantial evidence. I'm going to look at empirical data, and I've seen a lot of fights where, if you go back to that Amir Khan versus Danny Garcia fight, where Danny Garcia's father was kind of like goading Amir Khan, goading him, saying, you better not run, you better not run. And he really didn't run. They he stayed stationary more so against Danny Garcia than he has in any other fight. And I think that Danny Garcia's father goaded Amir Khan into not fighting his regular fight. Same thing with Tyson Fury. I think Tyson Fury kind of got in Klitschko's head a little bit, and I think he made him second guess himself. I think you could see Klitschko was hesitant in throwing punches in that fight. He was a little bit more reserved. He just did not look like himself, and Lomachenko does not look like himself when comparing him in the lead up to other fights. And again, will that mean anything? I know that the opposite end of this argument will be, well, you're reading too much into it. Again, trying to be a sports psychologist. And I get all that. And there is an argument to just say, well, Lomachenko, maybe Lomachenko, it's really not bothering him, but it's hard to look at the body language here, look at the demeanor. Sometimes it's just hard for somebody to hide their emotions. And Lomachenko isn't being poker faced here like he normally has been in the past. He's smiling and it's like if you go back and look at the Kamala Harris versus Mike Pence debate, and when Mike Pence was talking and he was challenging her and she was responding, she looked kind of irritated. She had that type of smile where it's like a nervous, irritated smile. Like you're like, come on, like that type of smile. That's the type of smile that Lomachenko has to me. He has that irritated smile, that I'm not going to say nervous smile, but it's a tense type smile. Whereas Teofimo Lopez he looks really laid back. He looks calm. He just looks like he is winning the mind games here. Whether or not those mind games carry over into the fight, that's another story. But I will say this. Lomachenko does not look like himself. He does look irritated. Okay, he has this disposition about him where it looks to me like he's saying to himself, who the fuck is this guy to talk to me like this? It really bothers him that a guy like Teofimo Lopez, who probably in his mind is saying to himself, he hasn't done what I've done. He hasn't been at this level as many times as I've been in there. He hasn't had 400 amateur fights. He hasn't won 2 gold medals. And this guy is looking at me like I'm nothing. He's looking through me. Like he said, he's looking right through him like he's nothing. He's showing him no respect. And again, that he's not used to seeing that. Same thing with Klitschko. When Klitschko had Tyson Fury in his face at all those press conferences saying things to him, Klitschko wasn't used to guys doing that to him. He just wasn't. Just wasn't used to it. So I just think that this could carry over into the fight. If he's going to bring emotion into this fight, and if Teofimo Lopez got into his head to such a degree where he's going to goad him into staying in there and trying to exchange more frequently, more often, and spend more time in the pocket tonight than he has in the past, whereas he has been staying in the pocket longer, and you're seeing him take more damage. You're seeing him get hurt more. You're seeing him get his head snapped back more. You're seeing him buckle on occasion. You're seeing his face get bruised up more. Again, Beeb, you're reading too much into it. That doesn't matter. He still won all those other fights. But again, the fights are becoming more difficult, and he has admitted as much as well. He said these fights are harder because these guys are bigger. They have a longer reach. And again, he is getting older. He's 32 years old. And you may say to yourself, okay, well, that's not really too old in the sport of boxing, but he's closing in on that point where he's going to be exiting his prime soon. And he's had a long career. This guy's had 400 amateur fights. He's been in the World Series of Boxing. He could be a long in the tooth 32-year-old because of the amount of fights and how long this guy's fought. He's got a lot of miles on him. And it could be taking its toll. And it looks like to some degree it is. I'm seeing a little bit more slippage. I don't think the fact that he's getting hit more is just because he's at a bigger, just because he's in a bigger weight class. I'm sure that plays a factor. But also, I think him just having a lot of miles on him getting up there in age, he could have reached his pinnacle. And at this point, there's nowhere to go but down, in other words, in my opinion. So, Armando, I totally disagree with your comments. I'm sorry. I just don't see what you see. I just don't see it. I think you're really underestimating Teofimo Lopez. I think you're underestimating him. And that's another thing. Like Teofimo Lopez crying and stuff. People, to me, that just shows the guy's got a lot of passion. I think the guy's got a lot of passion, and he's not insecure. He's not afraid to show his true emotion. To me, that's a strength. I don't think that's a weakness. I don't think that's a weakness at all, in my opinion. But again, it could be interpreted differently by other people. I don't think that's a weakness. I think him and his father got a strong bond. If you would ask me to talk, my mother passed away. I had a very strong bond with my mother. There's been times when I've been asked to step to, my mother passed away, and at work, we had like a memorial, and all of us were asked to stand up and talk about people we lost. They had a memorial for people who lost family members and stuff like that. At one of my old jobs, and I was asked to get up and speak about my mother, and I broke down and I cried. And there's days sometimes when I go back and think about my mother, and I still to this day cry, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. I don't think that makes me any less of a man. So when you're talking about your family, and you show emotion when you're talking about your family, where I come from, my culture, my background, my heritage, that's a normal thing to me. I don't look at that as a weakness. And again, that's just my feeling. Whoa, how is losing your mother anything like being upset with your father? Wow, this is really hard for you to understand, brother. When I'm talking about the bond that children and parents have with each other. How could this be going over your head, my brother? How could this be going over your head? How is losing your mother anything like being upset with your father? You're missing the whole point, man. You don't know the problem they had. It hurts when you have a problem with your family member, when there's a deep love that you have between family members, and there's something personal going on between you. That hurts. That shit cuts like a knife, bro. I think I think you're just, you know what? We're gonna have to dismiss you as a troll, man. We're gonna have to dismiss you as a troll. I can't really respond too much to you, bro. You're just trolling right now. I know you're not that uncompassionate about how family members have bonds and stuff like that. You can't be. So you're saying that loving your father is a mental weakness. We're done, bro. We're done. We're done. After that comment, we're done. So in order to be strong, you have to hate your family members. That shows strength by hating your family members. Mello, I'm taking Lopez by 8th round stoppage. I would bet the fight straight up. Armando, we're done. I mean, I'm not going to comment. I'm not responding to you anymore. We're done. All right. So yeah, again, there is a tendency when we pick a guy, when we pick a guy like I'm picking Lopez, there may be a tendency for me to look for more things wrong right now in Lomachenko's demeanor and stuff like that. But to be honest, when we're looking at this objectively, and I think anyone can say this, one guy is staying in character. He's being the same guy he always was up until this point, and another guy isn't. And another guy isn't. And in my opinion, I do think when you have guys who are as highly skilled as these two guys are, in my opinion, I don't think the odds are correct here. I think that a lot of people, particularly on YouTube, we're seeing this as a 50-50 fight. So when you have a 50-50 fight, on paper at least, and you have two guys who are exceptionally skilled, the little things do matter, like psychology, like the mental mind frame and the mental state and mind frame going into a fight. And if one guy who is the technical guy, who is the guy who's usually a stoic, who's usually emotionless, if that guy all of a sudden is showing emotion and he's out of character in a dangerous fight like this, and instead of just saying, I want to win the fight like he normally has, if he's saying that I want to inflict pain on this guy, whereas before that was never being brought up in his other fights, and he's been in a lot of big fights, for him to be out of character like this against a dangerous guy like this on arguably the biggest night of his life, I think this is the biggest fight. This is the most dangerous fight of his career, in my opinion. For him to have a different mind state than he's always brought into the ring tells me that this has all of the makings of him fighting a more aggressive fight than he normally does. So I see this as potentially turning into a more offensive fight than normal out of Lomachenko. I see potentially Lomachenko getting in more exchanges in this fight, more so than he has in the past. I see his movement being less in this fight. You know, this is going to be a fight. I agree 100% with what you need in the chat. He said it's going to be a fight. And Loma knows it. And Loma knows it. He's only going to be able to move so much, and he's going to have to stop at some point. And he's going to be in there with a guy that has phenomenal reaction time, explosive power and speed. A guy where if Lomachenko gives him an opening for a split millisecond, that's going to be enough time for Teofimo Lopez to react and capitalize on that mistake that's made. Whereas the other guys he's fought just didn't have that ability. Style-wise, you got a guy like Lomachenko who's going to come to Teofimo Lopez, who is a counterpuncher, who is an adaptive, reactive fighter, as I said several times in the past, a guy who has impeccable reaction time and defensive reflexes. And I think this is the greatest advantage that Lopez has in this fight. And I don't think a lot of people have really seen this or have studied this or have observed this. Again, the whole thing of footwork. Automatically, because a guy moves a lot, because a guy has pretty moves in there, flashy, flamboyant moves in there, automatically this guy has better footwork than the other guy. And no one's taking anything away from Lomachenko's footwork. But going into this fight and looking at the styles here, will that footwork be an advantage in this fight as it was in other fights? But here's the difference that Lopez has an advantage over Lomachenko, in my opinion, way more so than those other guys had. Transitioning from defense to offense and offense to defense. Now, Beeb, what are you talking about? What is that? Because you have a guy that his defense is his legs, okay? It's all about movement, right? It's all about movement, right? So this is a guy, when you have guys that use their legs as a defense, they're taking themselves out of the fray. And then they're coming back into the fray to go into an offensive posture. So when you have a guy like a Manny Pacquiao, you have a guy like a Lomachenko, you have these ambush-style fighters, Jean Pascal, another ambush-style fighter, who their defense is their legs. So they're carrying themselves out of danger. And by carrying themselves out of danger, they're taking themselves further out of range. So it's not like a guy who's staying in the pocket, catching and shoot. He's not a catch and shoot guy. He's not a slip and shoot guy. He's not a guy that's going to dip and duck, dip and drop down and shoot that body shot. He's a guy who's going to go in, flurry, and pivot out or step all the way out. And when he's moving out and he's pivoting out, he's not in a position to throw punches. Whereas Teofimo Lopez, if you watch him, a lot of subtle things that are being done. He's slipping a shot. He's slipping a shot. And as he's slipping a shot, he's coming over the top with a right hand. Okay? He's slipping a shot and shooting a hook at the same time. He's catching a shot, catching and boom, shooting over the top. So that's a quicker transition from defense to offense, offense to defense. That's going to be a huge advantage in this fight. So more in this fight. So excuse me, not more. So less in this fight from Teofimo Lopez in terms of movement is going to be more in this fight. So there's going to be a higher return in this fight from Teofimo Lopez moving less, because he's going to be getting more out of moving less than Lomachenko is going to get out of by moving more. Because by moving more, that takes you out of your offensive position and it puts you in a situation where you have to take more time to get back into an offensive position. So Teofimo Lopez doesn't have to move a lot in this fight. And it's not a disadvantage because he's not going to move a lot in this fight, because you got a guy who has an ambush style that's going to come to you. And you are an adaptive, reactive, timing, counter, puncher, fighter. That is what you want. That is what you want. A guy who's going to slip, catch, and shoot. A guy who's going to dip, duck, turn. So it's the transitioning here from offense to defense, being that it's going to be so much quicker from Teofimo Lopez than it is from Lomachenko. Because when Lomachenko is in a defensive posture, when he is going back out to reset, when he is pivoting out to reset and carry himself out of danger, he is not in position to punch, and characteristically, he is not that guy who is going to catch and shoot, slip and shoot, dip, duck, and shoot. He's in and out. He is an in and out guy. So when he's on defense, he is on defense. Whereas Teofimo Lopez could make a defensive move and simultaneously put himself in position to make an offensive move on the turn of a dime. on the turn of a dime. That's going to be the problem here. So when Loma pivots out to his right, when he pivots out to his right, Teo's going to be waiting for him. He's going to take that little half step and slide there. Because he's an adaptive reactive fighter. He's got extraordinary reflexes. And then when Lomachenko does move all the way out, he can't throw punches. So Teofimo Lopez is going to be like Marquez in this fight. And as I said, Lomachenko is going to be like Pacquiao. And you know what I see happening here? This fight is going to be Manny Pacquiao, Juan Manuel Marquez, 3-4. That's what this fight is going to be, in my opinion. That's what this fight is going to be, in my opinion. Are you insinuating Teofimo has better footwork and ring generalship than Loma? That's a good question, and I answered this question yesterday. Teofimo Lopez has a style where he doesn't use a lot of movement. So when you're asking about footwork, again, you're thinking you guys, you just have this misconception of like you don't really look deep into boxing. Why does Teofimo Lopez have bad footwork? What is wrong with? Explain to me what is wrong with his footwork. When you talk about footwork is balance, shifting your body weight. Okay? Pivoting. Okay? Reacting. You don't have to move a lot to have good footwork. Okay? To me, having bad footwork is if you're off balance, if you're constantly leaning forward, if you're constantly making a movement, throwing a punch, and your upper body's ahead of your lower body. You're not sitting down on punches properly. When does Teofimo Lopez square up? When is he off balance? When is he ever awkward, sloppy, and clumsy in there? That's what bad footwork is to me. This whole thing about being, again, exactly, G-Funky, flat-footed. Why is that a negative thing? Why is that a negative thing? You have a guy who is an ambush guy, okay? A guy that goes in and out and pivots in and out, okay? You have a guy that is only offensive when he's coming forward against a guy who can be offensive moving backward and forward. Eric made a statement, more ways to win. All right, I respect that. But Teofimo Lopez, in my opinion, has more ways to be dangerous. Because he can suck you in. He can slide back and walk you into a right hand. Whereas Lomachenko, when he is going backward, he is all defense. There is not a quick transition back to offense. When he's moving backward, he is not dangerous. Teofimo Lopez, when he is moving backward, he's dangerous. That's the difference. That's the difference. Being able to move and set your feet and stop and put yourself in a position to fire, that is footwork. That is footwork. So does Loma have better footwork than Teofimo Lopez? In my opinion, no. Because for what Teofimo Lopez does, his footwork is just fine for his style. It's a different, again, a guy who doesn't move a lot. He does things subtly. He sucks you into traps. He feints you. Canelo Alvarez, another guy. Is his footwork bad? No. What's wrong with his footwork? But he's not a guy who moves a lot. He's not a guy who uses a lot of footwork. Does Danny Jacobs have better footwork than Canelo Alvarez? They're just different styles. That's part of what Teofimo Lopez can do. He can wait for Lomachenko. He can. Great point, Mello. Mikey Garcia, another guy. Mikey Garcia, Triple G, Alvarez. These are guys who don't move a lot and fight on their toes. Roberto Duran, Bernard Hopkins, Felix Trinidad. All these guys. Loma is a mid-range fighter. Loma is a mid-range fighter. What you need, this is the one time that you and I, we're always disagreeing about at least one aspect of a fight. We're 100%. This is the first time me and what you need are 100% in agreement on everything in regards to this fight. So again, better footwork. How? Teofimo Lopez's footwork, I repeat, suits him just fine for the style of fighter that he is. He's never going to be a Lomachenko who moves around. It's like, does Hector Camacho have better footwork than Julio Cesar Chavez? Does Hector Camacho have better footwork than Julio Cesar Chavez? Yes or no? Does Sugar Ray Leonard have better footwork than Roberto Duran? Yes or no? Okay. So Roberto Duran beat Sugar Ray Leonard, who supposedly had better footwork than him. Why? Hector Camacho, does he have better footwork than Julio Cesar Chavez? Yes or no? So again, you have a guy that moves a lot. So automatically, just because a guy moves a lot, does that mean he has better footwork? Because a guy moves a lot or moves more than another guy, does that mean he has better footwork than another guy? Yes or no? He didn't use his footwork. That's a cop-out. That's a cop-out. Does Camacho have better footwork than Chavez? Does Andre Durrell have better footwork than Cal Froch? That's the thing. Just because a guy moves more, it does not mean he has better footwork than another guy. You know what? I'm gonna drop a link in the chat, and anyone wants to jump in here and debate this argument, you debate this argument with me. Having good footwork, exactly. Part of having good footwork is the ability to cut off the ring. Does Pacquiao have better footwork than Marquez? Again, more athletic. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? Anyone want to jump in here and debate me about footwork? I'm willing to debate you. Just because a guy moves more than another guy, footwork to me is body positioning. It's balance. It's being able to shift your weight back and forth and staying on balance. You could have subtle movement and still have good footwork. Cutting off the ring, that's footwork. Just because a guy moves more does not mean more is not better. More is not better. Just because a guy throws more punches than another guy, but the other guy throws less and lands more cleaner shots and is more accurate with his punches, quantity doesn't always beat quality. Some people do not have, a lot of fighters have made a career out of not moving a lot, but we're still successful fighting. Floyd Mayweather, over the course of his career, won the majority of his fights standing right in front of his guy, using a lot of upper body, head and shoulder movement. It's all about what is effective. Go down the list of all these fighters. See, no one wants to click the link because they know they can't debate my argument. Does Triple G have better footwork than Lara? Why is Lara's footwork better than Triple G's? What does Lara do better? Triple G can cut off the ring. So that, yeah. Stop what? Again, just because a guy moves more doesn't mean he is has better footwork. Some guys are better, some guys can cut off the ring. That is part of having good footwork. Triple G did have good footwork. Is he as fast as Lara on his feet? Probably not. But that doesn't mean that his footwork is any worse than Lara's. Lara is faster on his feet than Triple G, in my opinion. But that doesn't mean he has better footwork because he moves more. Triple G has very good footwork because he can cut off the ring very well. Julio Cesar Chavez had great footwork because he could move and cut off the ring. Marquez had great footwork because he knew just how far to slide back and suck guys into his counters. And he could set his feet, he could slide back, set his feet quick, and shoot a counter. That is all good footwork. Again, all these guys who move a lot, it does not mean they have better footwork. This isn't rocket science. It's not that hard to understand. All this is people looking at specific styles and just using their own biases of what they like. If you like a guy who moves more over a guy who doesn't move a lot, then you're going to say that guy has better footwork than the guy who doesn't move a lot. Which is wrong. Does Pernell Whitaker have better footwork than Julio Cesar Chavez? I don't think so. I think they both have good footwork. Good footwork. Is he faster than Chavez on his feet? Yeah. But that doesn't mean Chavez has bad footwork. That doesn't mean his footwork is inferior to Pernell Whitaker's. Because Chavez made a living off of great footwork because he was able to cut off the ring. So that's the thing. Everyone's like looking at like Teofimo Lopez like he has cement slippers. Like this guy's going to be a fucking sloth in the ring tonight. I just don't see it. He doesn't have to be Chavez. If you and I go out to dinner and we both order steak, and I make a statement, hey, we're both eating steak tonight. We share a similarity. Does that mean we're the same person? I love these little friggin' gotcha traps that you boxing fans like to use. How could you make a comparison? Again, I'll repeat this once again. Because two fighters have a similarity, it does not mean that they're the same fighter. It doesn't mean that fighter A is as good as fighter B because they do similar things. Because fighter A could do similar things but do them better than fighter B. But because someone, something, or a fighter shares a similarity, Don't automatically say, oh, you're saying this guy's better than this guy, or he's as good as this guy, or they're the same fighter. I love these little gotcha, stupid little taken out of context traps that people love to use on here. Loma stays inside too long. That is 100% correct. That is why Teofimo Lopez is going to win this fight. And he's also going to stay in here longer than he normally does, in my opinion, because I think he's going to try to exchange more. No, they're not strawman arguments. You're actually projecting because your arguments are strawman arguments. But why would Teofimo Lopez have to cut off the ring against an ambush fighter who's going to come to him? Why would he have to cut off the ring against someone who's going to come to him? Ambush fighters come to their opponents. They meet them in the mid-range area of the pocket and they throw their flurries. Why is he going to have to? He's not going to have to cut off the ring. He's not going to have to cut off the ring. He's not going to have to cut off the ring. So what the whole point of cutting off the ring doesn't really it's not really part of this fight. Shouldn't even play a factor in this fight. He doesn't make people miss when he's in the pocket. That's when he's actually getting hit. That's exactly what I said yesterday. I said he's similar to Pacquiao in the way he goes in and out, but Pacquiao would go in and out faster. He would spend less time in the pocket. Yeah, let's look at him fighting a southpaw. Diego Magdaleno. Kick the shit out of him. Again, I mean, okay, you think Teofimo Lopez is trash. That's fine. No, he's not the least hit boxer of all of boxing. He's not. He's actually getting hit more now at lightweight than he has. And Linares and Campbell and Pedraza were touching Lomachenko. So what's that? Mobility is a tool in boxing that wins fights. How many fights you move. Footwork is superior. That's totally opinion. That's totally opinion. So Jean Pascal moves more than Bernard Hopkins. How did Bernard Hopkins beat him? Hector Camacho moves more than Julio Cesar Chavez. How did Chavez beat him? De La Hoya moved more than Trinidad. How did Trinidad beat him? I don't understand your point. I think I just checkmated you. So Georgie just said guys who move more have better footwork. Ali was okay. Is Ali undefeated, Georgie? Does Joe Frazier have bad footwork? Look how Joe Frazier was able to cut off the ring against Ali with his footwork. So according to Georgie, the guy who moves more has better footwork than the guy who moves less. All right. I'm not going to try and change your mind. If that's what you believe, that's what you believe. That's what you believe. So if that's the case, and an older Joe Frazier. The guy that moves more doesn't have better footwork. Are you going to say that as well, Sean? The guy who moves more has better footwork than the guy who moves less? You're gonna hold on to that statement too? That's crazy. That's crazy. So Manny Pacquiao has better footwork than Floyd Mayweather? Because he moves more? He has better footwork than Marquez because he moves more? More fights are won by movement than loss. Show me the statistics. I want to see it. I want to see it. Show me the percentages of how could you even get statistics for a statement like that? Yeah, I know, Armando. Lomachenko is like the Flash. He can't be hit. It's impossible to hit Lomachenko. He's never been hurt. He's never been touched. His face has never been busted up in a fight. He's never been. You're right. Lomachenko is the Matrix. He's Flash. Mike Tyson wasn't a mover. Look how many fights he won by knockout against guys who were movers. Chavez wasn't a mover. Look how many guys he beat. This is a dangerous fight for Loma. That's all it is. It's a dangerous fight. Rocky Marciano, another flat-footed guy who beat Joe Louis. Exactly. Thank you. This is why I love What You Need. Rocky Marciano, Joe Louis, a mover. Jersey Joe Walcott, a mover. No, he wasn't a mover. He wasn't a guy that danced around the ring. That's okay. That's not foot movement. That's head movement. That's upper body movement. Same as Joe Frazier. He didn't dance around the ring like Ali did. The different style. Look, I already won. I already won the argument. Rocky Marciano was the guy who beat a lot of guys who moved. That's it. Sean, every time a point's proven, you make up an excuse. You want to change history. All these fights that were won and fought, that were fought and won, they don't have asterisks next to them. History's not going to sit there and say what you're saying. Then name them, Georgie. Name them. Rocky Marciano was old too. Was he young? So we're just going to dismiss it then because they're too old. Lomachenko's old too. He's 32 years old. That's old for boxing. So if Teofimo Lopez wins, Floyd was 37 when he beat friggin' Canelo. So what? Another one, Michael Nunn. Guy who moved more, but James Toney moved less. James Toney won. So you're going to agree with Georgie's statement then that movers win more than guys who move more have more wins than guys who move less in the sport of boxing. Is that are you gonna hold on to that statement? Are you gonna co-sign that statement, Sean? Is that what you're saying? Again, don't just disagree to disagree. Don't just go again. Don't just be the contrarian. Don't just say when I say that this is white down here, you're gonna say it's beige just because you want to disagree. Are you going to agree with Georgie's statement that guys who move more beat guys all the time that move less? Is that your statement? Because there's been many examples that were dropped in that chat. I'm asking you a question. Because I'm arguing against Georgie's statement. And you're sitting there supporting what Georgie's saying. So guys who move more win more than guys who move less. I mean, stop it. 1 and 2, really? Go back and watch a Sugar Ray Robinson fight And look how long he would stay in the pocket, because he wasn't a mover. He was a guy that stayed in the pocket and used upper body movement. And he was thought to be the best fighter of all time. He wasn't a mover. He wasn't a mover. Okay, footwork is an advantage. But again, is footwork just a guy who moves more? So are you saying a guy that moves more has better footwork than a guy who moves less? That's the question. You're dodging. You're dodging. Answer the questions. My argument is this. Just because a guy moves more than another guy, it doesn't mean he has better footwork than that guy. That's all I'm saying. That's my argument. That's my argument. Are you going to disagree with me? Yes or no? So guys who move more, guys who have styles like Hector Camacho, Muhammad Ali, all these guys have better footwork than guys who don't move as much. So James Toney's footwork sucks. Julio Cesar Chavez's footwork sucks. Marvin Hagler's footwork sucks. Roberto Duran's footwork sucks. A better tool. That's subjective, because Rocky Marciano beat many guys who moved more than him. Mike Tyson beat many guys who moved more than him. Roberto Duran and Marvin Hagler beat many guys who moved more than them. So that is a subject. George Foreman beat many guys who moved more than him. That is a subjective opinion statement that facts cannot back up. We just gave several examples of fighters who moved less than other fighters who moved more, and they lost. Tommy moved more than Marvin, and Marvin knocked him out. James Quick Tillis was a mover. Bone Crusher Smith moved. Spinks tried to move, but he got the ring cut off from him. Everyone tried to run away from Tyson. Everyone. Stop. Stop. You're evading the question. I'm asking you a question. I'm asking you two questions, Sean. In your opinion, do guys who move more than guys who move less, do they win more fights than guys who move less? Yes or no? That's question number one. Question number two is, just because a guy moves more than another guy, does that mean he has better footwork? Answer the questions. Answer the questions. How did Carl Froch beat Andre Durrell? How did Carl Froch beat Jermaine Taylor? I'm not asking you if it's one tool. Georgie said, guys, I posted the link. I'm going to continue to post the link, but no one wants to come on because they can't argue against it. Again, don't disagree just to disagree. Trying to hit something that is moving is harder. Okay, but can you move your head and shoulders and your waist without moving your feet, Georgie? Do you have to move your feet to move? Can I stand right here and move like this and evade punches? Do I have to use my legs? Yes or no? Now I'm playing word games. Now I'm getting emotional. We just gave you examples where guys who moved less beat guys who moved more, and we gave you several examples. Answer the two questions. Because a guy moves more, does that mean he has better footwork? Yes or no? Because do guys who move more beat guys who move less? Yes or no? Danny Garcia beat Amir Khan. I can name many examples, Exactly. All of a sudden now, guys used to call guys who moved a lot runners and said that they were pussies. Now all of a sudden, you just want to take the opposite side. Okay, you're saying yes. Now, how do you prove your point? We just gave you examples where guys who moved less beat guys who moved more.
Yeah.
African G. You think Tio is mentally strong enough to take punches, deal with the angles and movements, and stick with? Yes, because I don't think Lomachenko attacks in angles. I do think he moves side to side, but I think he stops in the center and goes to the center of the pocket. I think he moves in straight when he attacks, and then he pivots out. So I don't think he's going to attack on angles. I think Teofimo Lopez has the timing and the countering abilities to do that. Not you, other people have, not you. You haven't done it. I'm not accusing you. I said a lot of people have. Here we go. Beeb, you can't compare Durrell to Lomachenko. Again, we're doing this stupid taken out of context thing. They are both guys who use their legs. They have a similarity. They are not the same fighter. Why is this so hard to understand? You're not saying two guys are the same. Again, we both go out to eat. We both order a steak. Hey, you guys are eating the same thing. You guys both ordered steak. That doesn't mean you and I are the same person. We're talking about guys who move. Because both fighters move doesn't mean they're the same fighter. We're not saying that. This taken out of context thing, these gotcha moments are stupid. Stop it. I hope your internet's good today, because all the time I put you on it, your internet's not up to speed. You have good internet right now?
How's it good?
No, I don't have anger issues. Not at all.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. No. I'm normally on my phone. I'm on my laptop. Maybe
all right, I can hear you. I can hear you good.
All right. Well, what is the argument? Because
I don't have anger issues. I'm an emotional guy. People are asking me questions. Do I have anger issues? No, I'm an emotional guy.
No. I can see what you're saying, but I don't know what the full argument was. What they're saying and what you're saying.
Georgie is saying guys who move more have better footwork than guys that move less. That's like saying a guy who fucks and moves slow is better than a guy who fucks and moves fast.
No, that's not true. Context matters.
Context matters, right? I could be dicking down a girl right now, right? And I could be stroking her slowly, right? Another guy could be stroking her fast. I could make her come if I'm stroking slowly. More so than the guy who's making that's moving fast. So because that guy's moving, he's giving more strokes to that girl. Does that mean he's pleasuring her better?
Yeah, I get what you see.
Right?
The thing is, are they trying to say Lomachenko is going to win just because he's a better boxer or better footwork? Like you already said the examples given, and you just gave a funny example, but you don't even need to really look that far. Like we have seen guys knock out the superior boxers many times in boxing. Like that. That's just one element.
That's like saying just because a guy has a better fastball than another pitcher, that automatically he's a better pitcher.
I mean, just look how many times guys like Carl Froch, that was a very good example. How many guys did he beat that were much faster, much more athletic?
But can I ask you a question? Is cutting off the ring a part of having good footwork? Yes or no?
Who's the question to?
Is cutting off the ring?
Are you asking me or somebody else?
I'm asking you.
Right. Yeah.
Is being able to cut off the ring a part of having good footwork? Yes or no?
I believe yes. I'll give you an example.
Before you go on, I apologize. Let me just ask you a follow-up.
All right.
Guys who cut off the ring, generally, do they move a lot? Do they use a lot of footwork to cut off the ring?
I can elaborate on this, and I've sparred before. I haven't really competed at high level, but I'll tell you this: I was there when Golovkin fought Brook. His footwork I thought was good. He's not very fast on his feet, but he cut the ring off well. Now, I'll give you another very good example. A guy like Maidana, he cut off the ring, but I don't think his footwork is that good. But if you watch the first Mayweather fight, he cut the ring off very well. So it's not necessarily always the same. I thought Matisse got better footwork than Maidana, but I don't think Matisse cut the ring off very well in fights against Danny Garcia, in fights against Postol. But if you look at Maidana, what he did with Broner and Mayweather, I
There's
don't think it I don't
there's
think footwork always matters. Like, you basically don't have to have superior footwork. Mayweather's footwork was
but
much better.
again, the term having good footwork is not just about how fast you are on your feet
Yeah,
or how much you move.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Georgie is saying because if you move more, automatically you have better footwork than a guy who moves less.
No, no, that's not true.
That is not correct. It is 100% false. And I have another question for you.
All right.
If you go down in history, in all the fights in history, all the great fights in history, do the guys who move more, do they win more than the guys who move less?
No, no, no. That's not always the case. And footwork is just one element. Someone made a good point that for Lopez to beat Lomachenko, I don't necessarily think he needs to even rely on footwork or head. If
He doesn't
targets the
have,
body,
because he's the counterpuncher. The guy
yeah,
with footwork is the guy who's coming to him. He's
yeah,
coming to him. Why do I have to? I get mail. I get mail every day of the week, right? I get
yeah,
mail. Do you get mail? You get mail a couple times a week.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're receiving mail, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't have to be the mailman to receive the mail. The mailman is delivering me my mail.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
The mailman is delivering me my mail. I don't have to go to the post office and chase down the mail truck to get my mail if the mail is being delivered to me.
Exactly.
Right?
I don't think you can put it better than that.
Lomachenko is the mailman. He is delivering the mail to Teofimo Lopez, who will be receiving the mail. Now, when Teofimo Lopez receives the mail, he's going to rip it up and tear it into shreds.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
But what do you think about this? All right, just going a bit off topic. Do you think there's more ways for Lomachenko to win than Lopez?
Well, historically, Teofimo Lopez, the majority of his fights, he's won them by knockout.
Yeah,
and the one of his most recent fights that he did win by decision, he didn't look great at it.
I agree. Yeah.
So the probability of him winning by decision, you would have to say, by using circumstantial evidence and empirical data, the odds of him winning by decision are not impossible, but they are somewhat improbable when you compare them to the odds of Lomachenko. So if this fight goes the distance, which it very may well can, then
Lomachenko's a favorite.
The odds suggest that Lomachenko will be the winner. But here's the problem. What if the fight goes the distance and Teofimo Lopez knocks down Lomachenko a few times?
Then he's got a chance of either.
Then he does have a chance.
Or maybe a draw. It depends on the fight. How the fight is.
So
I'll say this as a professional though. If this was amateur boxing, I think Lomachenko would be a much bigger favorite in my opinion. The reason I believe this is closer in professional boxing, I don't think people realize it don't really. Obviously, it does matter to have better footwork and have better skills and all that. But in professional boxing, this is an amateur boxing. Power matters, size matters. This is basically a fight where Lopez can win, and I think some of the attributes he has got, he can, if he can implement them, he can pull off the win.
Can I ask you a question, Hamid? Not to cut you off.
All right, no, go.
Lopez uses his feet more, so it's easier to focus in on Lopez. Lomachenko uses his feet his feet more than Lopez, like in terms of movement, right? So it's easy for people to say he's got better footwork. But when has Lopez ever showed that he has bad footwork, that his footwork is poor?
I agree with that.
How could we really judge who has better footwork when one guy moves more and another guy moves less?
I think this. I think Lomachenko's got better footwork because I think there's not many guys got better footwork than Lomachenko. But that doesn't mean Lopez has got really bad footwork. I think maybe positioning you could talk about, but like you said, Lopez is a counter puncher. The guy relies on counters. He's more of a guy who relies on knocking you out with one or two shots. So for him, I don't think having the superior footwork or having great footwork is something that really shouldn't matter. He just needs to be in position at the right time, at the right place to let shots go. And that's all that matters. He's not a guy who's going to be jumping around or bouncing around on his feet. So I don't know why so many people don't focus on his footwork. I do think one thing that he needs to really look at is maybe targeting the body more than the head. Because I do think Lomachenko, if you try go headhunting, is someone that could, if you miss, he could make you pay.
Georgie, now you're changing the subject. Now you're saying movement, but earlier you were saying footwork. Which one is it? Is it movement or footwork? What is your argument here now? Now you're changing the subject. I don't get it.
Another thing is footwork is not always the be all and end all because if you look at Canelo and Golovkin, classic example, I thought Golovkin got much better footwork. You could say Canelo was flat-footed as well, but Canelo's upper body movement, the fact that he moves head, and Golovkin is a bit more stationary, that made both those fights so interesting, and that's why the first fight I didn't think Golovkin was going to knock him out. Like I know a lot of people picked it. I thought it'll be like I said it was going to be some sort of a controversial draw. I thought Golovkin may do enough to win, but I don't think he'd get the decision. And it was a really close fight, although still think Golovkin won about 7 rounds to 5. It was a very competitive fight. So
Yeah.
footwork is just one thing. If you don't use your feet in the right way, your footwork doesn't matter. Like if Lomachenko goes there and tries to, I don't know, go for a knockout or tries to make a point, maybe the footwork won't matter. If he's staying in the pocket and getting hit and trading shots, I don't think he will. I don't think that's the right game plan. If Lopez does draw him into a fight, that is possible. But like I think some people focus on one. What's the word?
One
One part of
aspect.
yeah, one aspect way too
One
much.
aspect.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
that's just part of the game.
Georgie just made a statement. He said movement is footwork. Movement is not footwork. Footwork is movement.
Yeah,
Not
that's
the other way around. Because I can move my hand. I'm moving right now. I'm not moving my
yeah,
feet. I'm moving my mouth right now. I'm not moving my feet. So movement is not footwork. I'm making movement right now without moving my feet. Footwork is movement, not the other way around. Again, you're just making scientifically, biologically, you're just making incorrect statements.
well, we all know that majority of the time when a trainer tells a fighter to move, they tell them to use their feet. But unless Teofimo Lopez is stuck in quicksand, I don't know the basis of the argument because I think
Can I ask you a question?
yeah,
And you answer me honestly. I'm not trying to coach you or anything. When you watch
yeah.
Lomachenko fight, does he use a lot of head, shoulder, and upper body movement when he
No, he
fights?
doesn't. He doesn't. That's what I'm saying.
Why can't these guys understand that?
That's what I'm also saying. Lopez should target the body. I think it's more to do with reflexes. I don't think I agree with you. I don't think like look at Canelo. If you look at Canelo the way he fights, he relies a lot on upper body head movement. So I agree with you on that. But the thing is I don't know if Lopez is good enough or quick enough to land. Like if he is, then he should maybe mix it up. But for me, I think Lopez should target the
Hamid,
body a lot more.
Hamid, that's a reasonable argument you're making.
Yeah,
Okay. But these other arguments that, Lomachenko has the footwork advantage. What does that
yeah,
even mean, bro?
yeah. Oh, yeah, I get you. I think if it comes down to just boxing skills, then I think maybe footwork could be one of the aspects that Lomachenko could rely on to win the fight. That's what if someone is saying, but that doesn't mean much in the grand scheme. If Lopez negates that and turns into a fight where you're relying on timing, counter shots, and it comes down to I don't know, staying in the pocket, head movement, upper body movement could be coming into a factor as well. So it depends how the fight plays out, man. That's all I could see. It depends how
What's
the
your
fight is.
What's your pick, Ahmed? What's your pick?
I think Lopez is live. If I was to go on paper, you got to go with Lomachenko, but I don't think he's a cakewalk, and I'd say he's more or less. I'd say 55-45 for
Amando
Lomachenko.
Amando de Los Santos in the chat thinks that Lopez is a bum and thinks that and
Uh,
thinks he thinks this is one of the most one-sided fights in the history of the sport. The
no,
way
no,
the way he's talking about it in the chat. Is he
I
is
don't
he
think.
is he accurate here or no?
No, no, no. I think Lopez got size advantage. I think Lopez got power. I think Lopez is a lot more dangerous than guys like Luke Campbell, guys like Pedraza. These guys were in there to survive. Maybe Lopez could get stopped or beaten convincingly as well because he is an aggressive fighter. But at the same time, Lopez is not a guy I think that will. I'll be very surprised if Lopez goes in there and is in survival for 11 rounds. And I think Lopez is a guy that will go out on his shield. I think Lopez got size advantage. He's going to be 160, 155. I could easily see Lopez knocking him out. And if he lands, I do think Lopez could stop him. Size matters, weight matters. Lomachenko is barely, I think, a super featherweight. I think he could probably still even make featherweight. If it comes down to that type of fight, and it's a rough, tough fight where they're trading shots, you don't want to be getting hit by a guy who's weighing almost 160, 155, 153. I think is probably his weight is going to be on the night. So no, it's not a mismatch. It's probably the best fight you can make right now at 135. So that says a lot. And also is if this fight was a couple of years ago, I would probably be a lot more confident picking Lomachenko. Right now, I don't think Lomachenko's looked that great, and that's not trying to take anything away. I do think that he's been a lot
He's
more
he's been
aggressive,
looking he's been looking
vulnerable.
easy. He's been looking more vulnerable lately.
Yeah,
He seems to be easier to he seems
easier
to
to
be
hit.
easier to hit. He's admitted himself that he's been easier to hit.
And that's the last thing you want. A
If
guy
you
who's had four.
if you have a fighter that's telling you, yeah, I am getting hit more because
Yeah,
these fights at lightweight are harder for me because these guys are bigger and they do have a longer reach. This guy is admitting to you that he's slowing down. He's having a harder
yeah, yeah,
time at this weight
definitely.
class. He's admitting it. He's
Another
admitting
thing,
it.
Another thing you people got to factor. Maybe he only had 15 fights, but he's had a long amateur background. 400, almost 400 amateur fights with the World Series of Boxing. Been a pro for almost 7 years, I think now. 6 years, or actually 20 end of 2014, actually 2013. So yeah, that's over 6 years actually. We're coming close to I think 7 years. That's quite a while, even though he hasn't had as many fights. You could get old overnight. I mean, look at Roy Jones and Antonio Tarver. Another thing is all it takes is one shot. So if Lopez lands a perfect shot, he could knock him out. I think as amateur, Lomachenko will probably go down as one of the greatest, if not greatest. But as a professional, I do think he's a lot more beatable, and I do think weight, size, stuff like that does matter and is a big
This
factor.
is
The only
this
question I would say for Lopez is this one fight too early? I'm not sure. I'm not saying it's going to be Jeff
look,
Lacey and
it's
Gonzagi.
not
I'm not sure.
it's not out of the realm of possibility to think that this may be too big of a moment for Lopez. This could,
Yeah,
but he's just to me he seems like he's gotten Lomachenko's head, whereas
yeah.
he
Maybe,
seems
maybe yes.
he seems more relaxed. He seems more calm, and Lomachenko looks out of character to me. He looks like he's aggravated. He's frustrated. He's pissed off by what this kid's been saying.
That won't be good if he takes that into the ring and tries making a statement, tries get going for a knockout late or as you said, if that's true, I didn't listen to the interviews because I was watching the weigh-in on YouTube and they didn't show it. But if he tries saying punishing him or taking him late, I don't think that's a good idea. You could get
Well, that's what
caught.
he's saying. That's what he's
That's not,
saying.
yeah. I don't think I don't think that's a good idea. I will say another thing is with Lopez, just go by resume. I don't think this matters. That's what I'm saying is hard to tell if this is one fight too early or the right timing. Outside Richard Comey, I don't think he's fought anyone that was really that good. I know Nakatani had problems, was 6 foot, whatever, and is a big lightweight. But I'm not sure if that guy was really that good. Maybe he was. It's hard to tell. But again, resume doesn't really
That
matter
that
here.
fight that fight is going to haunt Teofimo Lopez for the rest of his life.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough to tell on that night. That boxer, I forgot his name. Um, what was his name though? He passed away sadly. Oh, what was his name? Maxim Dadashov sadly passed away. It was a very odd atmosphere that night. I'm not sure if there was, and he had problems personally. So I don't know. That fight is completely different to this. But I'm just saying he hasn't had the fights with guys like Luke Campbell, Pedraza. He hasn't really. He's had a very good win over Comey. But I thought he caught Comey cold. I think he might have to do the same. If this turns into a fight like we had with Mayweather and Canelo, where it goes 11, 12 rounds. And I don't think it's the same thing because I don't think Lomachenko is as good as Mayweather. But if it does, then there could be that kind of scenario where the guy may have taken this fight to one fight too early. But I don't think that's something we should knock Lopez. I think we should credit him because we need to see more of these guys stepping up. It's just the only thing is that's one of the reasons I'm not sure on paper you could pick Lopez because I don't think as a pro he's had the experience. But I mean, it depends how the fight goes. That's all you could say because we don't know. We've seen bigger upsets in this, I'm sure, many times in the past. Just look at Tyson and Buster Douglas. So it should be a good fight. I do think it'll be competitive as well. I'm not sure where people are getting that it'll be like Kazagi Lacey. Yeah, Lomachenko could stop him late, but I'll be very surprised if Lopez doesn't win even a round. I do think he'll have his moments and he will win rounds. And I think there is a high possibility he could pull this off. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion.
So you think this is a good fight? You're excited for
Yeah,
this fight?
yeah. I think it's the best fight you can make, or the best guy you could get in Lomachenko win with. I mean, I can't think of many other guys. I don't think he's big enough for 140, and I think if you go back down to 130, I don't know right now at 130. I mean, Javante Davis, Santa Cruz are fighting, but I think Lomachenko would be a heavy favorite over both guys. And Santa Cruz is a guy that come up from 126. I know you could say the same for Loma, but that I think would have been probably a better fight when they're both at 126. Javante Davis hasn't really done much, and Lopez could overtake him with this fight. That's still a fight I wouldn't mind seeing, but I think outside this, the only other guy that I think that might want to see is Devin Haney fight Lomachenko. That's just based on style. I think Devin Haney has the style that I think could give Lomachenko problems. I think he's got the shoulder roll, he's got stuff, but obviously Teofimo Lopez on paper is a much bigger, what's the word, much bigger fight and has much more of a chance because I could see Teofimo Lopez has more chance of knocking out Lomachenko than Devin Haney somehow outboxing Lomachenko. Although I do think Devin Haney is a guy that I think could be the future. But I mean, we just gotta wait and see what happens because if Teofimo wins this fight, then I think Teofimo moves up, and I don't think Devin Haney will probably get the chance to fight the winner.
Okay. Well, I think that's. I think we covered pretty much all of it, man. You're gonna. I'm gonna be doing a live fight cast tonight, watching this fight. I think it's gonna
Yeah,
be a great fight. So I hope everyone comes back tonight to watch this.
I'll
Eric's
check
gonna.
that.
Yeah, Eric's gonna jump on at the end of the fight. So yeah, I just
Who are you
wanna.
both guys picking though? I forgot to check
I'm
in.
picking Lopez by eighth round stoppage. Eric is picking Lomachenko
All right, that's okay. All right, yeah, that's interesting.
by decision.
Yeah, I think it's always good when you got a show like that and you got two guys going the other way because that normally, to me, signifies is a very good, interesting fight that could actually go either way. So that's always interesting as well.
All right. All
All
right.
right, thanks,
I'll
Simon.
catch you later, man. Thanks for stopping
All right,
by.
nice one. All
Good,
right,
good analysis. I'll
all
talk to
right.
you guys.
Take care and enjoy the fight. It should be
All
a
right,
good
you
fight.
too. All right, guys. Thank you guys for joining me and stepping in there. And I appreciate it. Make sure you come back tonight for the live fight commentary. And we'll be back here tonight, man. I'm looking forward to this fight. What else can I say? This is an awesome fight tonight, and I'm looking forward to it. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great day.